I'm about to start reading Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt. This book, it seems pretty cute. I've seen it in stores. It has a little octopus on it. I got it for like $2 on the Kobo, so I was like, oh, I think this is a sign that I need to read this book. So, from my understanding, this book follows along a recently widowed woman, and she works, I think she works in an aquarium or some kind of like sea life rescue. And there's this octopus that I do believe we actually get the point of view of. And I think she kind of like bonds and just kind of like learns how to heal somehow through like the octopus and like her friends. And like, I feel like it's like really a weird kind of plot to explain, because I need to make it clear this is not like an octopus romance. Like, I know I read kind of weird stuff, but this is not what that is. I feel like that's where I'm getting like confused trying to explain this book, because I'm like, this is not an octopus romance. It is not. So yeah, it basically follows along this woman, and she's learning just how to cope with the loss of her spouse. She has like a nice network of friends, I believe. And so I think that is going to follow along her just kind of learning to love, learning to heal throughout the book. And there's some connection to the octopus, not romantic, and just like following her along, which is like a literary fiction. So it is a literary fiction story and sounds like one of my favorite types, where obviously it has like a real issue that real people go through very, very often. And it just follows the life of somebody, and I just love that. It's a really good palate cleanser. I did just finish reading Silver Elite, which was a really good book, so I enjoyed that. It had some really good world building, some intense high-stakes situations, so I kind of want to tone down my next little book here with something a little bit gentler, a little bit softer. I feel like it might be a bit sad though, but it's a nice change of pace. It's my nice palate cleanser. So yeah, I think without further ado, let's just crack this book open and hope that I'm not actually lying saying it's not an octopus romance. So I'm a little bit more than 100 pages into Remarkably Bright Creatures, and here are my thoughts so far. So far, so good. I didn't really know too much about what to expect for this book, to be honest. I just know that an octopus is one of the main characters, and it follows along a widowed woman. So what I'm learning is that one of our main characters, Tova, is a 70-year-old woman, which honestly I love old lady main character. That's such a vibe. And she has unfortunately lost her husband, her son, and her brother. So we're kind of following along her life and her journey. She works as a cleaner and has worked as a cleaner at the aquarium for a very long time. And what's interesting, and I think the plot is going to explore more into, is the death of her son, who 30 years ago, they say that he took a boat out and purposely drowned himself, but she doesn't believe that. She thinks that there's more to it, so I have a feeling that maybe there's going to be some investigation into that, and I think that will be interesting to see like where that goes. We also meet a few other characters throughout the journey. We have the octopus, who it's really fun because you get this kind of like interesting point of view from him. He's the only one you get first person point of view from. Everybody else is third person. And so he's cool because you just get to see stuff from the perspective of an octopus trapped in an aquarium, and how he calls it a prison, and how he sneaks out and eats some sea cucumbers and all this stuff. And I know that there's been real stories about octopus that kind of do that as well. So he's really fun. I really like him, but I don't yet understand his purpose in the story aside from just being interesting. And then a couple of the other characters that we've met would be Ethan. And so Ethan owns the grocery store, and he has a little crush on Tova, and he's also kind of like a town gossip in a way. And so that's kind of one of the other characters. There's this group of girls called the Knitwits, who are a group of old ladies who used to knit, but now they don't knit, they just meet together, they have cookies and tea and they chat, and Tova is part of this group, and so this is the Knitwits group, which I think is really fun. And then the last character that we meet is Cameron, and I think he's the only character I don't like. He really annoys me because he gives such, how do I even explain it? He just thinks that because he was dealt a bad hand, that it's basically impossible for him to live a good life. And so he's constantly comparing himself to his successful friends, he's incredibly jealous, he's super envious, like all of this stuff, and he can't hold a job for the life of him. So what I don't like about his character is just like how jealous he is and how unwilling he is to work on himself and better his own life, because he was dealt a bad hand in childhood, but people can persevere, and I'm hoping maybe that he'll learn this as the story progresses. But he's the only one I'm like, I don't really like reading about you, like, you annoy me. So yeah, those are pretty much the characters that we meet. I will say that I'm surprised that our main character is so old, but honestly, that's kind of a vibe. I really like that, and she's such an interesting character. Like, she's nice and sweet, but she also is like really lonely, and she's obviously trying to run away from her past by keeping herself really, really busy. Like, she doesn't really have anyone, and then especially with her brother passing away, who's she's been estranged to for so long, that there's a lot of stuff she needs to deal with. And I'm excited to see where it goes. I don't know if I'm right in the sense that she's gonna start to kind of look back into the past and maybe figure out what happened to her son. I'm not entirely sure, but either way, I'm having a good time following these characters around. They feel very, very realistic, and I just have a special place in my heart for old people. So I'm going to continue to read this book, and I'll update you around the halfway mark, so I will see you then. So I'm now a little bit more than halfway through Remarkably Bright Creatures, and I finally understand the purpose of the octopus. And so he's a really, really cool character, and he's so smart, and he's been in captivity for like thousands of days, and we're kind of following along as he's like, you know, like, I can only live up to so many years, and he's coming close to his expected kind of like age limit. And so he's trying to get stuff done because he really does care about Tova, which is like so cute. She's like an octopus whisperer at this point, and like they've created this like nice little connection, and she like understands him and he understands her, and he wants to help her figure out what happened to her son. And like, it's really cute, but obviously like he can't talk. Like when we get his POV, of course he can talk, but when they're talking, like they don't talk to each other, but Tova's basically able to understand what he's trying to communicate, and it's really, really cute. And I will say that Cameron's character is starting to grow on me. I don't like him, but he is starting to get some character development, which is good, because he started off very, very just like, oh, I don't want to do this, like, oh, woe is me, my life is so hard. But with the guidance of Tova and Ethan and this girl he's seeing, Avery, he is really starting to grow up and take on more responsibility. He's been able to hold on to a job for more than 2 days. He's actually making money. He's paying people back, and he's just working on bettering himself. And I'm like, yes, this is what I wanted to see. Like, good job, Cameron. It's very, very slow, and it's like the progression of it. It's been like 2 months in this book since he's been working at the aquarium. So yeah, it's really nice to see a character change like that because of like the support system and actually trying, because you can have a great support system, but if you don't try to better yourself, then you're still going to be stuck where you are. And so it's really nice to see this character grow with the support, but also just like really pulling himself up and doing it. And so yeah, he's in the town, he's searching for his dad. Tova is just kind of being old, and she's thinking of maybe selling her home or something. And so it's interesting to see kind of her perspective as like an older woman who's trying to figure out like, is it time to go to my final home kind of vibe. But she's only 70, so like she's got plenty of time, but some of her old people friends are either moving or passing away. And so it's interesting to see a book from this kind of perspective, because as somebody who's obviously still very young, and I'm not even gray yet in my head, so yeah, it's interesting to see like what that kind of experience is like, and kind of how lonely it can be. And Tova's character is just so likable, and I just want to hug her, and she's so sweet and kind and just like so funny. And it really does, like, the book does a really good job in representing old people, especially like some of the out-of-pocket things that they say, but not in like a mean way, just in like, it's just the way old people are. And I'm having a really good time with the setting of this book. It's like this really small town with like boats and fish, one grocery store, like the aquarium, and it's just like a really nice book to read in the summertime. It is like, I feel like it's like a bittersweet book. And like, I care about these characters and I want them to have their happily ever after, but it makes me worried because like our main character is really, really old and I just don't want to see anything bad happen to her. Like when she hurt her ankle, I was like on the verge of tears, but yeah, I got a soft spot for old people, so what can I say? So yeah, that's pretty much where we are at with this book. I'm going to continue to read it and I will update you when I finish it, and I'm hoping that it's not going to be a bittersweet ending because I just want these characters to be happy. They feel so real to me. So this whole town feels real. I don't know if it's based on a real town. I have no idea. But anyways, I'm going to continue to read and I'll update you when I finish the book. So I'll see you then with my final thoughts. So I just finished Remarkably Bright Creatures, and this book did have a good ending. I don't think it was really bittersweet. I think it was like warm and it was cozy, and it was just the type of ending that I'm happy that this type of book had. I will say though, Cameron's character being 30 years old, that man does not act like a 30-year-old. He acts like a teenager, so I wish that they made him like a little bit younger. Maybe he's like 20 or 21 or something. That would make way more sense for his behavior and like the kind of guy that he is, especially like towards kind of like the climax of the book and like the decision he made, but then like the other decision that he made. I think that would have been a little bit more believable, but I'm sure that there are 30-year-olds who act like he does, but it's just like hard to be like, oh, come on, man, like you're 30, you were getting your character development, and then you kind of like took a step back, but then like you took that step forward again, but still. And the Octopus, his entire story, his entire arc, I love everything about him. He is definitely the most interesting, fun character to follow along, and I love just him and Tova's relationship and how he's just there to help her and she's there to keep him company while he's in his captivity, and like the ending for that was really good. I really love Tova's character so much. She's just like such a spunky old lady, but we need more spunky old lady protagonists. Like, I love that we had a 70-year-old woman. That's just amazing. And like, she could speak to the octopus. She was dealing with so much grief and just constantly trying to distract herself, but then slowly as like little bits and pieces are starting to like come to light about like what happened, and that sweet lady. I love that lady. She's so cute. And just like the end and everything was wrapped up very, very wonderfully. And I think that, yeah, it was just a pretty good book. This is definitely one of those books where you enjoy it kind of like while you're reading it, but I wouldn't say it was like my favorite book. Like it was a good book, but it wasn't a great book, if that makes sense. So yeah, I feel like there's not too much to talk about it. This is always something I kind of struggle with when it comes to like literary fiction book, where I'm like, I can't really say too much because it kind of spoils the rest of the book, but it is very just like follow along Tova and Cameron and the octopus and Ethan and like these characters in this small little town setting, as there's some information being discovered about Tova's deceased son. And I wouldn't say that was really the main focus of the story though. Like, it's not a murder mystery, it's nothing like that. It's more of like a subplot, to be honest, whereas the rest is just like kind of following her and like the other characters around, which is something that I really enjoy. So if you're going into this book though thinking that it's like gonna solve some kind of like mystery, just keep in mind that's not really the point of this book. So yeah, if you want something that's just a little bit more kind of chiller, less thinking. I will say though that there could have been a chance for a really good plot twist, but the octopus had already figured it out and told us, the reader. But aside from that, yeah, decent read. So today we are going to be awarding Remarkably Bright Creatures a total of 3.5 stars. Decent book, not much else that I can really say about it that I haven't already said, but if it sounds interesting to you, definitely check it out. It is a slower type of read, so if you like that kind of stuff, definitely check it out. If you don't, maybe it's not for you, but these are just my thoughts. So the next book that I'm going to be reading is One of Us is Lion by Karen M. McManus. This book is kind of like if Pretty Little Liars and The Breakfast Club merged, is how I understand it. So yeah, I really wanted to kind of read something murder mystery-esque, so that's what I'll be reading next. So if you're interested in watching me read One of Us is Lion or any other book that happens to be on my never-ending TBR, definitely hit the subscribe button if you haven't already and turn on the bell notification. That way you get notified anytime a new video comes out. If you enjoyed this video, definitely hit the like button and let me know your best octopus fun fact. I would love to know. And one last thing for you, if you've ever wanted to be part of an exclusive community where you get exclusive access to videos, polls, behind the scenes content, cool emojis, badges, and much, much more, you actually can by becoming a member of my channel. Anytime someone becomes a member of my channel, it goes directly toward me getting more books that we can read together and explore. So if that sounds interesting to you, all the information is in the description to this video. And with that, I'm going to wish you warm wishes and fish kisses, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.